Ngā mihi o te pō, kia ora mō tō whakaronga mai. I'm Brian Walker with an 8-minute roundup of news from throughout the country and around the world.
It seemed like any other Sunday for the sleepy tourist town of Kaikoura on the northeast coast of the South Island.
Now, the Met Service long-range forecast for all New Zealand to midnight. A broad low-pressure system with embedded fronts is moving eastwards across New Zealand.
As night fell on November 13th, 2016, the locals were oblivious that in the early hours of the following morning, their lives were going to change forever. It was an event that would test people mentally.
I think a little bit of our heart and soul died that day.
And physically.
There were times where I thought I've bitten off more than I can chew here.
They can be quite aggressive, they like to bite.
And would put the region under huge financial strain.
This season's almost a write-off. We need to be ready for the summer. We're just hanging on that highway to the north being open.
It was about to be a very big year.
So it was just before midnight when I started driving the train, and I thought, you know, knuckle down, get home, get to sleep.
Wayne Sullivan was just starting his shift for Kiwi Rail, driving the second leg of a Picton to Christchurch freight train.
There was no other trains on the track at the time, and so I had the whole track, and that's unusual. It was a gorgeous night, ocean on my left. The supermoon obviously is a spectacle anyway, and it was a clear night, so everything was pretty positive.
Karen Barwick was returning home after another long day running Cellarview, her clifftop cafe, restaurant and functions venue.
It was a beautiful night. I drove home, got to bed about 11:45 after work, propped up in bed, folding the washing. The next minute the power flickered. And then all hell broke loose.
What the is going on?
We are undergoing a fairly dense earthquake at the moment. I can honestly say I doubt that I'll be able to stay in the chair for much longer. Hopefully it will calm and ease off.
I was in the Christchurch earthquake, and this by far was more intense and so powerful. We're on the bottom floor of a 2-storey house. I heard TV fall down, I heard everything breaking upstairs. We thought we were going to die. I've never ever thought I was going to die, but that was the moment, and I didn't want to die that way.
The seat started to shake left and right, and I immediately thought maybe I'm going too fast, maybe I've hit a speed restriction because the rail isn't up to scratch. I was about to enter a tunnel. I saw dust falling from the ceiling of the tunnel, which is a pretty clear indication that everything's getting shaken. It's pretty dramatic because of the pure effect of the earth shaking so hard that it can potentially damage this tunnel in front of you that you're about to enter. And with the train moving left to right as well, there were a lot of dangers in that situation. I put the brake on full. By the time it stopped, I was through the tunnel and almost about to enter another tunnel, safe from anything falling down, luckily.
I don't know how we got out of the house. It just was so terrifying. The whole place was rocking. How it stayed up, I don't know. And yeah, it was pretty friggin' terrifying.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God.
It's 7:45 and you're joining us for extensive coverage of the massive earthquake that's hit New Zealand. 7.5 magnitude. The extent of the damage in Kaikoura is becoming clearer. We have these aerial pictures just in. This house has entirely collapsed and a landslip is covering the tunnels on State Highway 1 near Kaikoura. A massive, massive landslip. There's the picture of it there. Huge, absolutely huge.
There were helicopters flying around in the morning. Eventually one of them hopped down next to the train and they came out and asked if I needed to get out of there, and I decided by that time it was probably a good idea. As soon as we got in the air and flew south to go back to Kaikoura, and I saw the massive slip about 500 metres ahead of me. Seeing that damage was shocking to a degree, but also a realisation of how lucky I was to stop where I did.
Either side of where Wayne's train had stopped, the rail was destroyed. Huge slips, with rocks the size of train carriages, burying the rail line, or flinging it into the ocean.
Over the next couple of days, reflecting on it is, difficult. So none of my family could call me. Having to hear the messages, the voicemails from my sister in Australia and stuff like that, it's hard.
Kaikoura's lifeline to the outside world has been cut. State Highway 1 and the main trunk line severed. The New Zealand Defence Force dispatches aircraft to drop emergency supplies, while the Takahanga Marae throws open its doors to residents and stranded tourists alike. 1,000 crayfish donated by Ngāi Tahu Fisheries provide a small silver lining.
It would have been close to 800 yesterday, and it'll be, I don't know, they'll just keep coming. Yeah, and it's surprising how many people are here. We'll just keep going.
After a couple of days at sea, HMNZS Canterbury arrives and is able to start evacuations.
In total, we've heard that there are up to 1,000 people ashore, so we'll be taking as many as we can on board. Some of them have had it really hard for the last few days. This is probably the first opportunity that they'll have to get some relief from. I'm not sure what the conditions are like ashore, but we'll certainly give them a place to have a rest and a hot drink and a lie down too if they need it.
The holiday from hell is coming to an end for these tourists, but for the locals, the nightmare is only just beginning.
The end of the house here was sitting on this point here, which is now 6 metres that way.
Have you ever felt anything like this before?
Never experienced anything like this. The power and the movement, very powerful and frightening.
Yeah, it's going to be a long, long time before that road is functioning normally again.
It's going to take a huge effort, thousands of people and billions of dollars to get Kaikoura open again. But for some businesses, it was already too late.
We'd done over 16 weddings in 14 months. It was just so amazing. And then when we went up and just saw everything just completely smashed and broken, it was the end of our business because we knew that people couldn't get in or out. We just thought, this is it. We had about 11 staff. We had to make them redundant. That was the worst day of my life, I think. And even when I think about it, it just, it's things that don't go away very easily. And, we worked hard. We worked really hard. I think a little bit of our heart and soul died that day.
Every month the road is closed means the loss of millions of tourist dollars. If the road doesn't reopen for tourism within the next year, Kaikoura may never recover. Coming up.
There were times where I thought I've bitten off more than I can chew here.
Where do you start when you're cleaning up a billion-dollar mess?
What we've come up with is using helicopters to wrangle.
It is a bit of a minefield, to be quite honest.
The 7.8 magnitude earthquake has cut Kaikoura's lifeline to the outside and left the region with a daunting mess to clean up.
Key things for today, potentially 150 cubic concrete coming in, and we're going to need someone bringing trucks in, bringing concrete trucks in.
Over the first few months, plans have been put in place. Crew have been hired from around the country, and more than 1,000 workers have descended on Kaikoura. It's an invasion known around here as the Orange Army.
I've worked on a few challenging sites, but nothing compares to where we are at Ohau Point, to be quite honest. It's a very congested site, and we have to do it as safely and as efficiently as possible. It's one of the biggest slips and most dangerous on the whole site, so it is a bit of a minefield, to be quite honest. We've got the constant threat of rocks coming off, so we have all the nice Royal Wolf containers sitting there, and that's our protection. So we just look at it every day, and I think we've all given up looking up. You can't think about it, you just get in and do the job. At the moment the team is about 35 men. We've got 14 diggers operating up to 75 tonne, 12 moxies and 20 construction staff. We're operating a night shift, a day shift. Whether at 3 o'clock in the morning or 3 o'clock in the afternoon start, we will go through and do a 12-hour shift from that time.
Ohau Point is just one of 40 major slips blocking Kaikoura from the outside world. And the pressure is on people like Dave Julius, known around here as Juice, to get the road open.
In terms of the reconstruction there, we're creating a seawall, which is at the highest point 11 metres high, and we have to remove pretty much all the earth and debris that's come down off the slips and dig down into the footings of the reef and create a nice solid base to build the seawall off. The biggest challenge would be the ocean, continually coming in, trying to work amongst tides. So we're starting at 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, pouring concrete for 5 or 6 hours and then getting beaten back by big waves. It's challenging. It is challenging. We've got to pour during the day at high tide, and then we can move forward.
The movements on the ground are matched with a constant hum in the air. Helicopters drop monsoon buckets of water on top of slips to bring down loose rocks. At the same time, huge sheets of wire fencing are being draped over the hills. It's called geomesh, and it's designed to contain any future slips. And here, at Ohau Point, the choppers have been given another unique job to do.
There's about 12 little buggers under there. Today the construction team want to come in and clear this area here. Very sharp boulders, very deep tunnels underneath. So getting in and clearing the seals will be a little bit difficult. There's one in here, Al, I don't know, I might try and pass it to you.
Before Ohau Point became the huge barrier between Kaikoura and the north, It was famous for being one of the country's largest colonies of New Zealand fur seals.
So that once the earthquake happened, there was a whole lot of material that came down through the main colony, and that pushed a lot of the seals out further down and up the coast.
These seals are now right in the middle of a hazardous construction site.
We've put in a huge amount of resources into trying to protect the seals, and so we've come up with a number of different ways to ultimately try and keep the colony as safe as possible. There's about 8 of us in total, and we come on site for 2 weeks at a time, work 7 days a week. We're all experienced in either wild animal handling or seal handling specifically. We're all biologists and field ecologists, so we have a field experience with that.
If you're thinking this looks tricky, believe it. The seals think they're safe hiding in deep crevices, but with earthworks about to happen, if they're not moved, they'll be crushed.
They can be quite aggressive, they like to bite, so you definitely don't want to be bitten by one. But yeah, it's going well, it's going really well actually. I'm really pleased with the outcome and how much we've actually been able to achieve.
All right, I'll sneak around and try and get him. It's challenging at times. It's been fantastic working with the construction guys. I think it's quite satisfying when you finally get one out and clear an area and then you see the progress that you're making.
In the red zones directly underneath the big slips, it's too dangerous for the SEAL team to go in on foot, so they've had to improvise with other methods.
One of the ways is using helicopters to wrangle, much in the same way that you would wrangle cattle in the outback or something. And that's really turned out to be really effective, which is great.
But even the helicopter has its limitations when it comes to moving the seals. And the team in the chopper have spotted a couple of young pups that have bunkered down under a large rock. The SEAL team radio down to a digger driver who has his own trick for removing stubborn seals. Success. The pups make a run for the sea, and it's safe for the earthworks to continue. If you think seal wrangling is exhausting, spare a thought for the recovery crews nearby, who have the weight of an entire region bearing down on them.
Your management of these areas has to be spot on, else we're in trouble. Where they get wound out is full length, 14.5 metres.
State Highway 1 and the main trunk line are Kaikoura's lifelines. And with tourism down 90%, even the businesses that survived the quake are wondering how long before they join those that didn't. Coming up.
These boys have worked their absolute asses off.
Going to great heights.
It's a workout.
To get the job done.
Doing it one-handed makes it more of a workout.
But the stress of one of the biggest construction efforts in New Zealand history can take its toll.
It's very raw and very real.
Copy, Sarah.
You can come around the south funnel, Juice.
Thank you.
The groundwork for the new highway, rail lines and bridges is starting to take shape as winter approaches in Kaikoura.
This area we're driving on now was basically full of debris. It was an amazing looking thing to look down and think that we had to get rid of this to put a road through. You sort of look at it now and go, wow, we were down there.
While it's clear to see what's happening on the ground,
what about if we put it the other way, Nick?
It can be hard to spot what's happening above. Highly skilled rope access technicians work at stomach-churning heights to stabilise hills. They're like the special forces of the Reconstruction.
When the earthquake happened, it actually shattered all the rock plains. So instead of thinking of one big massive solid rock hill, think of it like 1,000 Lego pieces all just thrown in a box together. And if you remove one little one from the bottom, it'll all come crumbling down. So chop it up to the top. So you hook yourself on, and there's an edge like that, and you look behind you, and all you see is ocean and this cliff face that drops around about 90 metres all together. Then you go all the way down. Then you put yourself on another rope and drop another about 40 metres, and then you start your day. Oh, it's great fun. It's definitely, as far as places to work and what you see and what you do and what you can get to, it's awesome. Like this will have to be one of the best jobs in New Zealand at the moment, definitely. It's actually really nice people to work with. The team is very varied. We got everyone from a really famous mountain guide here in New Zealand to rock climbers and obviously Marcus, who's our one-handed abseiler.
I was born with one arm. Pretty much everything I do is one-handed, obviously, and I'll just adjust, I guess, and figure out ways of doing things.
He's the only one-handed person in the Southern Hemisphere to do abseiling for a job. We can guarantee the Southern Hemisphere, can't guarantee the North. Yep.
There were times, to be honest, where I thought maybe I've bitten off more than I can chew here.
Marcus may actually be the only one-armed abseiler in the world, but he arrived in Kaikoura as a digger driver before deciding to attempt the notoriously difficult abseiling course.
Anyone that's done the course will tell you it's a workout. Yeah, doing it one-handed makes it probably more of a workout, I guess.
Being a rope access technician isn't just about abseiling. Once you're there, you have to operate heavy work machinery. But Marcus found his own way to make it work, trading in his digger on the ground for a rope and harness in the sky.
It's a bit of adrenaline, I guess, which is cool. Keeps it interesting. It's exciting. Occasionally you can put the tools down, get the camera out and take a few photos. Views you'll probably never see again.
Unfortunately for the abseilers, what goes down must come up.
The hardest bit at the end of the day is you look up to that 90 metres that you quite happily came down, and you got to think, I've got to haul yourself up, just like that, all the way up with a 20-kilo pack on as well. So that there was it was a welcome back sort of moment.
For many of the workers, this is home, a purpose-built working camp on the outskirts of town.
As far as camps go, it's actually quite a nice one. They make living here actually very tolerable. It's quite nice.
So this is my little home away from home. It's where I stay when I'm working in Kaikoura. Don't have to share a shower and toilet with anyone. Yeah, wee fridge. So yeah, it's got everything you need, definitely.
Rather than having dinner in the camp, the recovery workers head out to eat, propping up the local economy. Karen's clifftop restaurant was lost in the quake, but her little ice cream shop, Poppy's, has managed to survive. At night, it's become a cosy dinner spot, catering for the Orange Army. With the tourist trade at a standstill, it's the only thing keeping Poppy's going.
We've got roast chicken, roast beef, lamb shanks, fingers and mash, and a beautiful creamy chicken and champagne ham ravioli. So these veggies are all cooked in the oven, no deep fried.
Our group of guys will always come here just because you do feel welcome and they remember your name, home away from home, because that's what we are. We live away from home, we sacrifice that, so it's nice to feel welcome, I guess.
I remember a group of boys come in once and one of them was really rude to me, just very short. So all the boys took him outside and told him off. Don't you talk to Poppy like that. And he's been one of our most regulars after that. So eat their veggies, they get an ice cream.
The Orange Army invaded and we definitely did do that. And it's akin to someone coming to your backyard and setting up a tent. And at first, obviously, there was a lot of learning time for both parties, and now it's actually quite nice.
We just made it our mission to make it as homely and as welcoming as we could. Here you go, Jamie. You know, they'd be covered in dust. Their hair would be like concrete, you know, and they looked shattered. And you know these boys have worked their absolute asses off, and it's all just to get the road open. You know, you'd get 8 of them coming in and they'd go to take their boots off at the door. I said, leave your boots on. We can just clean the floor. It's no big deal. James, your pumpkin and just your normal veggies and carrots only. Yes, no greens.
Thank you very much.
Do you think I should let him have an ice cream, Kieran?
Oh, I don't know. Does he deserve it?
What do you think, Dave? I think so. They have kept our business going. They've kept every other business going. They are very special to us and we would have been completely stuffed without them.
Coming up, being away from home has its sacrifices.
It was hard walking away knowing that I had to leave that in the hands of my partner.
But for one train driver, it's the day he's been waiting for.
We ran through the joke, you know, that Kaikoura would stop paying me until I finished the job, so it was nice to get that finished.
It's been 9 months since the Kaikoura quake. And for Oho Point site manager Juice, today is a good day.
I'm going home and taking some bounty from Kaikoura. Right, I'm going to empty the freezer. I'll try and take a couple of bags of venison and restock the freezer back at home and take a couple of crayfish.
A well-deserved trip home isn't the only reason for Dave to celebrate. The region desperately needs the highway open by Christmas for the summer tourist season. And after weeks of working around the clock, the access path around Oho Point has finally been cleared, allowing vehicles to pass through and connect up with workers on the other side. It's a major milestone, and it also means his home on the Kapiti coast just became a lot closer.
The inland route was just horrendous. And then if you had snow, you couldn't get through, and if you had rain, you couldn't get through. So it was a pain in the proverbial arse, to be quite honest.
Six-day weeks and a long drive has meant going home for the weekend isn't possible. So Dave is only seeing his family once a month.
It's just so nice to be home again. It's an awesome feeling. So we're going through and replacing the old sliders with new sliders so we can open up, and we're going to put a deck on and open it up for the summer. Health and safety down there is number one, and we have to adhere to it and we have to keep it safe. I was out here in bare feet with my apron on, cutting with my skill saw, thinking, God, if they could see me now, I'd be in the shit.
It's really good to see him. He's always so tired when he gets back though, like you have to give him a little bit of space. That's really hard after we were both so happy to see him, and then he's like, the dog's always the happiest of all to see him.
The decision to leave for long stretches has been made harder by his son Tane's recently diagnosed medical condition.
He's got an irregular heartbeat that if he gets a shock, he can basically stop breathing, and he's got to be shocked back to life. So it was hard walking away knowing that I had to leave that in the hands of my partner.
And then there's just missing out on them growing up.
I think that was pretty hard, going to his graduation without you.
Yeah, well, that was the thing that sucked for me, was not being here for that. You only get to see it once, and you miss all those things. You know, he got to lead the Kapahaka group, and I didn't get to see that or anything like that. So, it's been worth it. It's allowed us to do the things around the house and to get some savings.
Bit of appreciation for each other.
Yeah, a bit of appreciation. We've been together how many years? 20
years.
20 years, and we'd certainly learned over 20 years how to piss each other off.
But not all relationships survive the long distance. As an unofficial camp mother, Karen often finds herself picking up the pieces.
I think you'd have to have a very strong relationship and a very understanding partner, both for the men and women here. Being away and being on your own, it's pretty tough for some people, and we're all still human and we need people to connect with.
The long winter has taken its toll on abseiler Matt Kelly too.
Probably the hardest part for me is I live in Dunedin. I have a partner down there, and my wife and I, we like to obviously see each other. So it's just an uncomfortable, painful place to work sometimes. It is cold, and it's cold. You'll be very lucky if it defrosts before 10, and then if it does defrost, then you're just wet and cold. I've had a lot of times where I just want to pack up and go, I need to be somewhere warm. A nice warm shower would be lovely. Yeah.
We've had people come in, you can just tell by the looks on their faces that things are not good. But instead of just ignoring that, I'll put stuff down and go out and put my hand on them and say, "What's going on? Yeah, are you okay?" One chap came in one night, you could just tell he just looked like he had the weight on his shoulders, and I just sat down and said, "Yeah, okay, what's going on?" And he just said, "Oh, it's just too tough, It was touch and go for his relationship, and I just said, you just need to go home and just explain how you're feeling. Anyway, he did go away, and came back, and he just said, "Thank you so much. It was the best thing I could have done." It's very raw and very real. A thing in your contract can't protect you from that.
Thanks, Poppy. See you tomorrow.
Have a good day.
The long hours and brutal winter have been exhausting for everyone. But finally, some good news. Getting the highway completed through Oho Point remains the greatest challenge for the recovery team. But after months of work, the rail line has been repaired. The first freight train in 10 months is able to roll all the way from Picton to Christchurch. And one of the drivers has some unfinished business.
We ran through the joke, the Kia Rail stopped paying me until I finished the job, so it was nice to get that finished. The feeling on the earthquake day, that was replicated in Kaikoura when I was about to get on the train. So that was a very heavy feeling, particularly because the community had been through so much. There were a lot of people taking photos, a few signs out. It was a nice event, and it was good to see people support it and get behind it. I tried to distance myself a little bit from that in Kaikoura itself because I had to drive the train. I didn't want to have too much going on in my head, and I was quite happy to drive to Christchurch, and it was like that day, I got to get out of there pretty quickly, so I was definitely one of the lucky ones there.
Copy, Dingle. Dingle, where are you?
Back at Oho Point, the recovery team is not feeling so lucky. A statement has unintentionally let slip that the state highway going north will be open to traffic on December 15th. What was supposed to be a hopeful target is now set in stone. It's an optimistic goal at best, but with the hopes of a region relying on them, there's no going back now. It's particularly hard on the team building the new Iron Gate Bridge. In order to meet the December deadline, it's going to have to be the fastest build of its kind in New Zealand history. The pressure is on. And it's back to work for Dave Julius. Coming up, it's opening day for State Highway 1.
Wahoo! Here we come!
But the road isn't finished.
We're using a few unusual techniques to get a bit of breeze on our pavement. It's going to be right up to the wire as we expected.
Today is a big day for Kaikoura, and for the locals, one that couldn't come soon enough. It's opening day for State Highway 1 going north, reconnecting Kaikoura to the world.
It's been long, it's pretty tough. It took a bit of a beating in the earthquake, but now she's ready to go. It'd be good to get some money start coming in through the shop, support the family. Opening at midday, so hopefully we'll sell some crayfish. Just can't wait. Awesome feeling.
But there's just one problem. The road isn't quite finished. Heavy rain in the past few days has meant the seal can't be laid on the wet roads.
We're using a few unusual techniques to get our pavements dry, and the helicopters have been used to get a bit of breeze on our pavement. It's going to be right up to the wire as we expected.
That's the height down there.
Despite the odds being against them, it seems to have worked, and the road is finished in the nick of time. Locals and tourists alike have started to queue at both ends of the unopened highway. Signs are put out at lightning speed, and as the finishing touches are taken care of, just after 1 o'clock, State Highway 1 is once again open from Cape Reinga to Bluff.
So awesome!
Wahoo! Here we come!
It's been a big year for Kaikoura. 20 damaged tunnels and 59 rail bridges were repaired or rebuilt. Over 7,000 5-ton blocks were needed to create 2 kilometres of seawalls along the new highway north of Kaikoura. The marina has also recently reopened after the extraordinary lifting of the seafloor required 23,000 cubic metres of material to be dredged from the harbour. Incredibly, the new bridge, which passes over the Iron Gate stream, has been built in 14 weeks, the fastest built bridge of its kind in New Zealand history. And 160,000 cubic metres of rock and dirt were painstakingly removed at Oho Point by Dave Julius and his team, making way for the new highway.
We've been through a lot of withdrawal symptoms for 12 months, not being able to go up and down this beautiful piece of highway that is just part of our life.
So you're chuffed to have it back?
Oh, absolutely wonderful.
They've done a fantastic job. Thank you to you all.
It's been the most confronting year we've ever experienced in so many ways, and as we sort of pick ourselves up and really rebuild to bring on the momentum of return of visitors, it's just been absolutely amazing.
There is a feeling that after all the region has been through, Kaikoura is ready for life to finally return to normal.
you go, darling.
Yes, it's a big one. Thank you.
I'll have a rum and raisin, please. Will you?
I didn't think it would be as busy as it was. We were really excited. We were hit. We had 6 deep, lines out the door, people that hadn't been coming in, giving us hugs and cuddles.
Thank you.
It was crazy, and we loved it. I was like, oh my God, it's actually busier than it was before the earthquake.
From one of the largest earthquakes in New Zealand's history to one of the biggest rebuilds, the healing of Kaikoura's landscape and its locals still have a long way to go. But for now, the roads and marina are open. The tourists have started to return, and after a big year, it seems like finally there's light at the end of the tunnel.
Thanks, lads.
Good working with you, mate.
It's actually been a fun time.
Fun. You did all right, bro. Looks good.
Finally got there.
As the projects along the coast begin to wind down, over the coming months, one by one, the workers call time on their life in Kaikoura.
Best shallow landslide barrier
In Kaikoura. Easy.
I've ever seen.
On side 18. Yeah.
The history of this road is literally etched in stone. Now these workers have written their own chapter.
I'm not sure if it's all going to fit, but no, it feels good. It feels, half of me feels really, really good about it, and the other half is picking up a part of your life. So, yeah. I'm definitely proud of the work we've done. You look back and you have no idea how it got done, and you have no idea, you wouldn't be able to get this done in a lot of other places in the world. It was all in, just get it done.
Oh no, are you making me take all that off? Oh well.
Start there, work your way up. You know what to do.
Oh, it's looking pretty rough.
I don't clip my beard or shave my beard or touch my beard during a project. And then on the last day or at the end of the project, I'll chop it back to the length that, I'm allowed back into civilization roughly.
Well, I've enjoyed these guys being in Kaikoura and helping us through this horrible period in our lives. If it wasn't for them, my shops probably wouldn't be going still.
There's been a very long project, this one.
And his next one's free. Shame, he's leaving.
A lot of hard work's gone into it, a lot of hours, a lot of sweat, and yeah, it's something we'll be able to look back on, I guess, and drive up and down the highway and yeah, be able to remember what a kind of monumental project it was, It's absolutely huge.
For Dave Julius, there's mixed emotions.
It's a bloody bizarre feeling to be leaving here now to go home to your family like you really want to be going, but you don't want to go. We've had some incredible people working here. It's a big family, and you're leaving one family to go back to your real family. You're sad to be going, but it's exciting to be getting and knowing you're going home.
But not everyone in this town is leaving, of course. They build them tough down here.
I think the last year has taught me that I'm a lot better at things than I thought I was. I'm resilient. I learnt that what you see is not always what you get. These rugged brutes that come into town are the big pussycats. I don't think that there's one that I haven't enjoyed. And just to be grateful. And you're not always gonna die.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.